it's good to read Scripture. We don't do that very often. So I hope you felt something maybe a little odd reading that out loud, maybe a little strange. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. I've spoken on that Bible story more times than I can count, because it happens all the time. It's in all 4 Gospels, and it seems like a very, very easy thing to talk about. Because obviously, Jesus performs a miracle, right? And just makes all these little bits of bread and fish be able to feed 5,000 people. That seems to me to be a little too simple. Because Jesus wasn't simple. And so I think that there's something bigger potentially in this. Jesus has already told his disciples, you can do absolutely everything that I can do. He's told you that. You can do absolutely everything that Jesus did. That's a pretty cool promise. So if they were really listening, and if they took this into their hearts, they could have gone and fed everybody. Jesus was all about feeding, all about parties, all about the stuff, and they could have gone and done it. There's even one section in John where Jesus says, not only can you do everything that I can do, you're going to do more than I've ever done. Gnaw on that one for a little while. 4 things in this story. Jesus has compassion. It's this deep, deep feeling that he has for people that is like this way down spot in his gut where he just wants to feel the exact same things that these people feel. It's deep and emotional and desperate love. It's compassion. Another thing that he does, he tells the disciples, you go and give them something to eat. They're the ones who had the bread and fish. Jesus didn't have it. He tells them to go do it. And they didn't. So something's amiss here as well. When the disciples see these 5 loaves and 2 fish, they see just 5 loaves and 2 fish. They see how little they have, not how much they've been blessed with. They have a mentality of scarcity rather than abundance. And lastly, Jesus orders them, actually the word is commands them to go and be generous and give it away. And the result, as you learn from the story, is absolute abundance. Everybody eats their fill, and then there's these baskets filled at the end with leftovers. Abundance. This feeding story is often called Jesus feeding the 5,000. My question is, did Jesus feed them? Who fed them? The disciples did. Jesus, right? Jesus gave thanks to God for it. Hands off at that point. All the disciples went, and they're the ones that shared it. There's something intriguing about that. I don't know exactly what it is, but when Bibles say Jesus feeds the 5,000, they're wrong. Because he performs a miracle, but then he's not necessarily the one out there handing stuff over the counter. All right? So we gotta know a little bit about what's going on. What Jesus does, and I don't want to diminish what Jesus does, because it's exceedingly important. He teaches the disciples how to feed. He teaches the disciples how to be generous, how to see things in abundance. It seems to me that people are generally on edge when you talk about generosity. You bring up the term generosity, people get a little on edge because there's like skeptics, or they're like wondering, all right, what are we going to get hit for? Or they don't know when they experience it, and they don't know what it feels like necessarily when you do give something in a generous way. Why are you doing it? Do we do it to get something back? So that's not really generosity. Or do we do it just because? So there's this YouTube video that has gone viral because of CNN. And CNN, on every Sunday, they run a belief page on there. And this was up, I think, last week or the week before. And it's a story about Aaron Collins. And Aaron Collins, in his 20s, had told his family and wrote in a will the 3 things that he wants to have done upon his death. Aaron died 3 weeks after his birthday this past July 7th. So these things are taking place right now. And that's why this is happening. Here are the 3 things. Repay his parents any debt that he may have owed. Now, I'm not even going to go into that because some of us are still there. Second thing, give a homeless person some money. Not super difficult. You know, we can walk almost anywhere and we can take care of that. Number 3, to leave an awesome tip for any waiter or waitress. And then it says, this is the quote with the ... I'm not talking about a 25% tip. I mean a $500 tip for a ... pizza. Can you show this? Here's the video of this table.
This is where it's happening. Jean's smiling teeth. Waiting for the rest of the family to get here. And we'll be going in and having lunch and getting some big tip. Hopefully, it'll mean a lot. More of the family arriving.
waiter or waitress and got a $500 tip. I mean, that's kind of like way out there. Pardon? Sit down. That's about right. There were, so in these things, and there's like a blog that goes down. I'm going to share just a couple of them to show you what this meant for some people. If I could hug you all, I would. I was just thinking to myself the other day, after an exceptionally bad day, that I wish there would be more good in the world. That I wish people would just take a moment and help someone else instead of shooting them down. That no matter how badly someone treated you, just give them a smile and wish them well. I hope that the goodwill you guys spread reaches far and wide. And I know that everyone you help will in turn help someone else. It's a circle of love, as it were, a wheel of kindness. Please don't ever stop changing the lives with kindness. Impacts like this are world changing. One day, this person wrote poorly. One day my family and my friend were out to dinner, and we always bowed our heads to pray and thank God for our food. A few minutes later, a man gave my husband a $100 bill to pay for our meal and said to keep the change. When asking why, he said he did not believe that people still pray and are not ashamed to do so. Mind you, we were eating at a Chinese restaurant, so the bill was only $30 for the four of us. Boy, was the waitress surprised to get such a large tip. And ever since, I'm not so stingy with tipping. Thank you for sharing your brother's story. I wish we could all live like that and know how much an impact of kindness could help someone else. God bless you and your family as you go through this hard time of losing your brother, your son, your friend. Wow, in all caps, is the verbal expression of how my heart bursts with happiness and warmth when I see here how you, your family, and most of all Aaron, is touching lives with his wishes. Thank you for the wow that lives in my heart right now. And lastly, as I sit in Starbucks and read and watch this story unfold, I'm crying. Thinking of a very unique and special individual this man must have been, and his psychology is so beneficial to those in need and searching for what is missing in everyday life. Just one kind deed can make all the difference in the world. Your brother sounds like a wonderful man. I'm filled with tears and clutching my throat to learn of such a caring man's death. This world could use more people just like him. Just seeing this encourages and uplifts me and has touched me beyond belief. I hope I have and will make an impact, even remotely close to what your brother has done for me. For what I'm sure is in many lives that he touched. He is truly an inspiration and a role model for us all. Those are pretty drastic. Pretty amazing that some things can be done just with a little tip. So I thought I would try it. And I go by, one of those vegetable stands on the way home every day. Get vegetables for home every day. Got some green beans and some tomatoes, and my bill was, $4.25. So I give the guy 20. And he's starting to get the change out. I said, no, that's for you. And I just sort of leave. And he's like, but. And I said, just do one thing nice for somebody. And his face hit the ground. He didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. And that's just $15.75. I mean, that's like nothing, right? I don't know. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Maybe this is another one. A week ago, a member of Zion came up to me and told me that they had received a check, an unexpected check, for $500. And wanted to know, how could we best use that? What could they put it towards? What would it be best for? with $500? It's summertime. You can go and play hard. I mean, that can be fun. But instead, that $500 was just turned over in generosity. And maybe that was just the picture that we needed to see of receiving something we didn't expect and then turning it over again. When we hold things really, really close, when we squeeze them really, really tight, instead of being generous, we miss opportunities that Jesus asked of us. Jesus is trying to teach his disciples, be generous with what you have. When you give selflessly, you'll have great, great, great rewards. You know, it says it in Scripture that as you give, it will come back to you in tenfold. Some folks have tried it, and it happens. In some way, shape, or form. Maybe not the way that you expect, but it does happen. Living a generous life brings sort of a new vibrancy into the way that we live, because we don't see things in scarcity anymore. We see everything in abundance, and the graces and gifts that God has given us. See, generosity is a lifestyle. It's what you do, it's how you do it, and it's with your intentions. And if you do it from the intentions that Christ has given us, to be selfless, so that others may grow, that's the right place to be. So the challenge for us all is to live a life of generosity. Amen.